In another time, and in another place, lies the distant and fantastic world of Ch.3, and within, the place of my birth. Dantavish, Jewel of the Sands. A city of kings and conquerors, of men and monsters. My name is General Judah Dante, and it is here that I have forged a privileged life of family, wealth, and status. But there is an evil that stirs from within the heart of the kingdom, a bloodthirsty cult of dark sorcerers known as the Abyssinian Warlocks. They have an iron grip on Dantavish, and no one, not even the king, will challenge their authority. But there's something malevolent on the horizon. Ch.3, demon lord of the fifth realm of the abyss and patron god of the Abyssinian Warlocks, is planning to bring about a hellish apocalypse. Only I and my motley band of loyal soldiers stand in his way. Together, we must face every type of demon, ghoul, and supernatural fiend if we hope to save our world. For we are the warriors of Ch.3.
King Marcian once again stands high atop his balcony perch. Only this time, the full brilliance of the city during the day is alive in his ears and his eyes. It serves to remind him that he presides over a vibrant metropolis, an oasis of life and color in an otherwise harsh terrain of an unforgiving desert. As he stares out into the expanse, his troubled mind preoccupied with his own deep sense of anxiety, Thelio and his second-in-command, another Abyssinian warlock by the name of Haran Khufu, mull over a large table, the top of which sports an impressive model-like mock-up of the entire main city of Dantavish.
Now right here, Your Highness, just near the main Tetharian temple, is an empty quarter of nothing but a bunch of street vendors. Now we can build another recruitment center and possibly make this the lead chapter, since it would be so close to the temple after all,
says Khufu, pointing to a certain space in the model city near the temple of Tethar, the excitement clear in his voice. Marcian pays him no mind and just continues to stare blankly into dead air.
My lord, did you hear what I said?
Marcian bounces back to reality and glances over at the two bewildered warlocks.
What was that, Horan? I must have drifted off there for a moment.
Was something troubling you, Your Highness?
No, of course not. Now, what were you saying?
Yes. I was saying that right here is an excellent place for a lead chapter of the recruitment centers. This would be an excellent place to attract more young faces to the Warlock movement.
You think we should be building more centers? Don't you think it's getting to be a bit much at this point?
Says Marcian almost immediately after Khufu finishes his own sentence, almost as if the king meant to cut off the warlock. Khufu cocks his neck to the side and walks closer to the king, his unnaturally dark-colored eyes glaring out from his equally outlandish-looking ceremonial mask.
Oh, surely His Highness is not questioning the will of the mighty Ch.3.
No, I would never question his mighty will. I'm just saying we've erected so many recruitment centers already. I'm even getting complaints that your recruiters are beginning to forcefully take young boys off the streets.
All lies, sire. No doubt concocted by the rabbles of displaced Xinjiang, who are obviously seething at no longer holding a seat of power within the empire.
His Majesty must put aside these doubtful thoughts. Like Khufu said, these are nothing more than falsehoods cooked up by enemies of the throne, designed to make you question the edicts of our God. If you falter even slightly, my king, you risk derailing all that Ch.3 has built in Danthavish thus far,
says Thelio as Marcian squirms away from Khufu's uncomfortably close proximity as he bites down on his thumbnail, much the way a child would in times of stress.
I know, and I am sorry. I do not mean to question Ch.3. But you cannot deny that there has been unrest in the Empire.
Oh, well, unrest is a good thing, my lord. It means the people are receptive to the changes that we've brought. Or rather, the changes that Ch.3 has brought.
A desert snake is most vulnerable and in the most pain when shedding its old skin. But once it receives those new scales, it's stronger than ever before,
says Thelio as Marcian looks over at him, the king's eyes as anxiety-ridden as ever. However, the warlock's words have restored some sense of calm in his features. Khufu then worms his way over once again and puts both of his hands on the back of Marcian's shoulders.
Well, you must let Ch.3 guide you, my liege. You know what is right in your heart of hearts. Think of what Marcian III would have done, for he ran a strong empire.
You will keep my late husband's name out of your filthy mouths,
echoes a strong female voice from behind. The three men whirl around to see a regal older woman, wearing a white gown and a sparkling smaller crown on her head. She possesses a pair of bright, almost gray-colored eyes set against a smooth tan and lightly wrinkled face. Locks of long white hair tumbling over her shoulders. This is Miriam, Queen Matriarch of Danthavish, who, despite her years, was still quite the beauty.
Marcian III indeed ran a strong empire, but on the merit of the fact that he was more than capable of making his own decisions without a pair of fork-tongued serpents whispering in his ear.
Oh, mother. It is you,
exclaims Marcian as he almost runs to her side like a little boy.
How dare you let them besmirch your father's name in such a manner?
She says, walking right past her son. The two warlocks instantly drop to one knee.
Queen Matriarch, please do not misunderstand our words. The Abyssinian warlocks hold nothing but reverence for our departed king, of course.
Oh, really? Well, that's not what I heard. It sounded more like the two of you trying to influence the actions of my son by using your religious zealotry as emotional blackmail. I have half a mind to declare your entire order as nothing more than heretics,
says Miriam as Khufu suddenly stands to his feet and looks her dead in the eyes beneath his frightening mask.
Oh, with all due respect to Her Majesty the Queen, she has no such authority to make such decisions under Danthavish law. All final say is with your son, the king.
Miriam then gets right up in Khufu's face.
the warlock forgets his place. You listen to me, worm. I would sooner rip that stupid mask off your face and have your tongue eaten by ants than hear your tripe against my husband, my son, or my people. Is that understood?
All right, enough, Mother. It's all getting out of hand. And as for you, Horan, you will show the proper respect for my mother, lest I will have my gods rip out your innards and feed them back to you. Do you understand?
Shouts Marcian as he separates the Queen and Warlock, as Khufu once again drops to his knees.
Oh, 1,000 pardons to you, Great One. The desert heat must have clearly impaired my judgment. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah? Well, that's not all that'll impair your judgment. Try my fist across your crooked nose, insect.
Mother, that is quite enough. I implore you to let me handle this. Please.
Says Marcian when suddenly a bedraggled man wearing a messenger's tunic and trailing sand behind him tries to run past the guards at the entrance to the throne room, but is immediately blocked by their crossed swords.
Please, His Highness and Her Majesty, I was sent as a messenger from the caravan of General Dante. His envoy approaches the city gates.
You mean the general has returned from Rendaris? Guards, please, let him in.
Says Marcian as the guards uncross their weapons, and the messenger runs right into the throne room.
Yes, my lord. The general was not more than a few miles back when he sent me ahead. He has brought with him the reigning monarch of Rendaris with a full contingent of her royal entourage.
What? Surely you jest. He actually brought the monarch back with him?
I assure you, 'tis no jest, your highness.
By the name of Ch.3, I sent him out there for peace talks. I didn't expect him to bring back the entire royal court. How could he have even managed that?
Asks Marcian when suddenly the blasting trumpet of a ram's horn echoes over the city and into the throne room. Marcian looks up in a confirming sort of shock, quickly making his way past his mother and the warlocks.
Wait! That must be him now.
Marcian, wait!
Yells Miriam as she begins to follow her son on his way out of the throne room.
No, I've no time now, mother. I must prepare a welcome for the monarch. Guards, get a platoon of my imperial detail down there and tell them to get those gates open. I want an entire parading reception for the whole envoy. Cheering crowds, rice in the air, confections, all of it.
At once, my lord.
Yells one of the two guardsmen as he and several of the guards scurry off down the hall as Marcian himself walks swiftly in the opposite direction, quickly disappearing from sight, leaving his mother and the two warlocks in the throne room. Miriam stands there and sighs before turning back towards Khufu and Thelio.
We are not done. Not by a long shot.
She says angrily before walking out of the throne room to find Marcian.
What I would give to carve out that witch's heart and boil it over a stove.
Calm yourself, Khufu. All in due time.
We cannot afford to wait much longer, Thelio. We must go forward with a plan. With all the resources we've amassed, we can release Ch.3 and the whole of Dantavish will be ours within one passing of the Covenant Star.
It's taken over 15 years to groom the Empire to this point. Things must be right for Ch.3 to walk this realm and take over properly. Now Dante bringing in the monarch from Rendaris could be just the opportunity we've been waiting for.
Oh? And how so?
Come, I'll explain on the way. We must pay our proper respects to the general and his triumphant return, yes?
Says Thelio as he leads his second-in-command out of the palace and onto the streets of the city. The inside of the room is a plain basic wood floor with sandstone walls. However, in the center sits an attractive young woman, her legs crisscrossed beneath her. She wears a tunic robe of a muted red color, and her stunning ginger hair rests on her shoulders. There was one noticeable feature that stood out from what one would normally see in a Dantavian, and that was her paler complexion. No doubt due to her ancestry hailing from the frozen tundra of the Scavlands. The young woman continues in her silent meditation, 2 lit candles by her side illuminating a hanging tapestry on the wall in front. The tapestry is but a simple decoration, sporting a solid black circle in its center. The black circle in turn contains smaller red circles scattered throughout the inside of its confines. As she delves deeper into her mental sanctum, the echo of a ram's horn over the city breaks the stillness of the air. It pulls the young woman out of her ruminations just enough that her heart begins to flutter inside her chest. She knows what this sound signifies, and joy begins to flood her thoughts, so much so that it begins to interfere with her prayer-centric concentration. As Dendera sits in her silence, an older man dressed in a nearly identical robe peers inside the doorway. Known as Arif the Elder, he smiles, a kind demeanor emanating through his obvious wrinkles and bushy white beard. The man gently raps on the doorpost in an effort to get Dendera's attention. She opens her eyes and looks in the direction of the noise, her own cheerful countenance immediately becoming apparent through her wondrous blue eyes.
I'm sorry to disturb you, dearest. I'm surprised you didn't hear the trumpets.
I did, actually, but didn't want to break communion with the one superior so swiftly.
Arif again presents a wide grin as he walks into the room, approaching the simple tapestry that hangs on the wall.
You know, it's a tragic thing that few in the Empire could even identify this symbol anymore, even though it has some of the greatest meanings ever handed down by divinity. The black sphere with the red dots, such a simple yet accurate representation of the quintessence. It reflects the nature of the One Superior himself, simple but at the same time all-powerful. That's why my heart sings when I see you take your devotions so seriously.
I take them seriously because I cannot do otherwise, Father. My soul and spirit belong to the One Superior. His goodness and benevolence are all that I am and all that I ever will be.
A lump forms in Arif's throat as his eyes begin to water.
It just breaks my heart that so many have forgotten the love he has for all his creation. They've turned their backs on their one true Father, all for a wretched demon of the abyss who would sooner see them burn.
Have hope, Father, as that is the One Superior's message to all his children. As the very last of the Jin Yang, it still falls upon us to shine his light through their darkness.
The young woman hugs the man gently, and this causes Arif's spirits to bolster somewhat as he tightens his embrace around his adopted daughter. Sensing his elevated mood, Dendera looks up at the elderly man.
So tell me, is it true? Has my foster brother returned from his trip to Rendaris?
It appears so, as the ram's horn never lies. Many of the king's elite guard have been gathering people on the main thoroughfare for a big receiving parade. Apparently, Judah has returned with more than just a peace treaty.
Oh, how exciting. Come then, I'm very anxious to greet him.
Says Dendera as she begins to scurry about, covering her head and hair with a matching red scarf to her robe and tunic. As she makes her way to the door of the modest dwelling she shares with her father, the woman looks back, a little surprised to see that Arif hasn't moved.
Father, what's wrong?
It just strikes me how extraordinary the One Superior works. Judah was only 9 and Javan only 11 when I took them in after their father was killed. They were left in such anger and bitterness. Now, if you had told me back then he would one day grow up to become the supreme general of all of the armies of Dantavish, I wouldn't have believed you for a moment.
The One Superior indeed works in mysterious ways. Come on then. Our conquering hero awaits us.
Says Dendera sweetly as Arif just nods contently. The two of them walk out the front door and onto the busy streets. Outside, the main thoroughfare of the city was already lined with hundreds of huddled masses, many of them covering the streets with palm branches in anticipation of the general's returning envoy. As Dendera and Arif navigate through the busy crowds, the former spots Joel waiting atop a nearby balcony of a local inn.
Father, look. It's Joel.
She shouts excitedly. Arif squints trying to get a better view through the heat-induced haze as he, too, spots the general's wife.
Yes, I see. And she's got the girls with her as well.
Oh, come.
Says Dendera as she grabs her father's hand and leads him through some of the remaining crowds. They soon reach the front of the inn and waste no time in climbing the outside stairs to the balcony in which Joelle and her 2 daughters await. Joelle and Dendera immediately embrace one another, each woman kissing the other on her cheek. Arif does likewise as Dendera then embraces Asha and Aliyah with the same kind of jovial glee.
So good to see you all, and praise be to the One Superior for Judah's return.
Oh, indeed. We were all growing so worried, especially Adriel.
Oh, bless the boy's heart. I know he wanted so much to see his father on his birthday.
Well, speaking of which, where is Adriel?
Oh, he wanted a better vantage point. He's out jumping across rooftops as we speak.
About a mile up the main thoroughfare, on a particularly high rooftop overlooking the imposing front gates of the city, Adriel and Anash mill about. Both of them are sitting casually with their legs hanging over the side of the building.
Incidentally, what are you going to do when I tell my father about what you said?
Are you still on that?
No, but I'd just like to see you sweat.
Says Adriel with a hearty laugh. Anash shoves his friend on the shoulder, causing Adriel to lose his balance slightly. Adriel steadies himself and chuckles as he shoves his friend back, but much harder, causing Anash to actually go over the side.
Whoa!
The boy grabs the ledge and holds himself up. He quickly jumps back onto the roof and draws his sword from his back scabbard, a look of anger and exuberance on his face.
You want a rematch, Dante? Is that it?
Anytime, any place.
Says Adriel with a tone of mocking playfulness, his hand firmly resting on the hilt of his sword that hangs at his side. Suddenly, the trumpeting of the ram's horn blasts through the air yet again as the massive front gates begin to creak open. The crowd below erupts in thunderous cheers. The boys resheathe their weapons and excitedly make their way back over to the edge of the roof, their horseplay replaced with sheer anticipation. Just outside the city limits, the sizable caravan waits patiently. Judah sits atop his horse, along with the Sangreal brothers, Danai, Gideon, and Malachi, who all now accompany him at the very front of the envoy.
By the gods, do you hear that crowd in there? You'd think we were returning from some major battle.
Says Dmitri, hardly able to contain his excitement, as Gabrielin, rolls his eyes.
Oh boy, fathers lock up your daughters tonight. Dmitri Sangrayal will soon be on the prowl.
Dmitri laughs as he takes a large mouthful from his canteen.
As you so elegantly put it, my brother, you damn right.
It seems our arrival has garnered quite the reception, eh?
All purely for theatrics, I'm sure. When Marcian got the heads up that we were returning not only with a peace treaty, but with Rendaris' ruler herself, I can assure you he scrambled like a horse in heat to get all this together.
Says Judah, which is met with a chuckle from Gideon. After just a few more moments, the gates fully open, and Judah gives the signal for the caravan to start its procession into the city. As the envoy slowly marches onward, the crowd gets even louder, many of them beginning to throw rice into the air in celebration. Adriel looks on intently, finally spotting Judah leading the procession from the front.
Oh, Father! Up here!
He yells as Gideon looks around and notices Adriel on the roof as he widens his eyes in uncertain recognition, pointing to the young man atop the roof.
I could be wrong, but is that one yours?
Judah looks over, immediately smiling from ear to ear, a father's pride overtaking him as he gives his son a firm salute.
Indeed he is.
Adriel proudly returns his father's salute, his eyes bursting with adoration, as he whispers to himself,
Welcome home, General. Welcome home.